What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray, and we're talking about generational wealth, finance, business, and mental health. And if you're looking for a mental health therapist, look no further than Dr. Briggs Boland.
Hi, I'm Dr. Izetta Briggs Bowling. Connect with me for professional mental health counseling and support services designed to help individuals and families navigate stress, trauma, substance use recovery, and life transitions. Email me at drbowling@ibcyclebreakers.org or call me directly at 845-313-4496 for a free consultation. Now, back to Black Men Sundays.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
Today's guest has spent more than 25 years at the intersection of sports, branding, and championship excellence, from helping supply over 70% of HBCU athletic programs during his time at Converse to leading the design of championship rings. Yeah, you heard that, championship rings and recognition programs at Jostens. He's worked alongside some of the best and biggest names in sports and witnessed firsthand what separates good organizations from championship organizations. And today, he's bringing those same principles into the business world as the founder of Urban Night Group, helping entrepreneurs, underserved communities build businesses that create lasting wealth through what he calls necessity entrepreneurship. So today, whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, an athlete, or simply someone trying to build a better future for your family, today's conversation is packed with lessons on resilience, leadership, and creating a legacy that will outlive you. Without further ado, LaVisse Smith, my brother, welcome to Black Men Sundays. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Corey. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely, man. And let's just jump right in, man. You've spent decades around championship athletes, coaches, and organizations. What separates champions from everyone else?
They do more. they they want to do more, and they don't take a back seat in trying to accomplish that. So it's been a great journey for me. And what you also notice is that they do the little things. And the little things mean that the people in the organization are important. So that's what I have noticed in the great organizations and the organizations that are struggling to become great. It's all about the people. You take the San Antonio Spurs. It's all about the people. The Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors. When the New England Patriots were winning their championships, it's all about the people in the room. Or as the old management theory is, it's about the people on the bus.
That's great information. And you were connected to the Chicago Bulls during their sixth title dynasty. So what did you witness behind the scenes that fans never got to see?
Well, it's interesting. When I first moved to Chicago, I was working for Converse. I was a sports marketing manager for the Midwest. And I had always been a Lakers man. I loved Kareem. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I grew up watching Magic Johnson. I watched Magic Johnson as he was growing up when he played with Michigan State. So I was a Lakers man. But when I moved to Chicago, my thought of Michael at the time was he was just this tongue-wagging showman. But when I got a chance to work with several of the Bulls, starting with the coach at the time, Doug Collins, Will Perdue, Paxson, had a chance to work with Horace Grant for a while. Michael, I never saw, being a former college basketball player, Michael, you call him the lead dog. I never saw a lead dog work as hard every day in practice as Michael did. He set the tone. He set the standard. So I had much respect for the man.
Great information. And you spent years serving HBCU athletic programs through Converse. Why have HBCUs played such an important role in your career and your perspective?
Well, HBCUs, they're finally starting to understand that they have a viable product. When I worked with them, I had a chance to work with the HBCUs through a good friend of mine who was a coach at the HBCU, basically who started the CIAA with Coach Big House Gaines. You're familiar with him, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, John McClendon worked for Converse, and I tutored under Coach Mack. He's known as the creator of the fast break. He was the last living coach that learned the game from Naismith at the University of Kansas. So I acquired a great appreciation for the HBCUs because of Coach Mack and understood what the HBCUs meant to Black America from an educational standpoint and from an athletic standpoint. The HBCUs opened a lot of doors for African Americans, whether educationally, through business, uh, medicine, and also through athletics.
I saw in the email you sent me, you said, not just the championship rings, but, through Converse, you guys were able to, basically take care of the feet of these athletes as well. So let's talk about that some, because that's a major accomplishment.
Well, when we gave schools product, it was from a promotional standpoint. But for the HBCUs, it helped stretch their budgets. And, we worked very closely with them, trying to provide a product for them that, they could play in that would take care of their feet and also stretch their budget. We had pretty much about 80% of the HBCUs in our product at the time, from Winston-Salem to Hampton to um, Virginia Union. We had a lot of the champions wearing our shoes at the time when I worked for Converse with Coach Mack.
And you also helped design championship rings and recognition awards. What do those symbols represent beyond winning a trophy?
The symbols on the rings, it means something to the teams involved. You've got the top of the ring and you've got your two sides. And usually the coach, along with a team committee, will sit down and they will talk about the things that they went through during that season to accomplish that championship. And then we help them decide what to put on the ring, how to put it on, and where it should be positioned. So a lot of times it was, for, let's say, the Chicago Bulls, it was their record at the bottom that, lasted for a long time before another team broke that record. It was also, finally beating the Detroit Pistons. So, those rings symbolize a lot to those players. And, it's like their trophy on their fingers. But they were also very expensive, 10 karat gold with diamonds. It's tough. When you're talking about professionally playing 100 games, 90 games, it's a commitment. All people that live normal lives, all they think about is the money. But after a certain point in time, it's a lot of energy and a lot of effort. As we were talking before we came online, Andre Dawson was one of the athletes that I used to work with. And, Andre took care of his body after a game, before a game, the commitment that he made to being in tip-top shape. I was very happy to see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame. But, that's what a ring symbolizes. It symbolizes all that effort that was put into accomplishing that goal, team goal, along with individual goals.
Great information. Great information. And after spending so much of your career celebrating champions, what inspired you to launch Urban Night Group?
When I worked for Converse, I used to run an academic basketball camp over at Valparaiso University in Indiana. I would bring in 50 girls and 50 boys from the Chicago Public League, Basketball League, and we would do academics in the morning, SAT, ACT prep, and we'd have a basketball camp in the evening. And what I noticed through my years with Converse, it was always the ones who had it got more, and the ones that didn't have it struggled to find out how to get it. And that's what inspired me about the Urban Night Group. I see too many of our athletes that grow up in urban areas, and all you hear is, I made it out. I made it out. They never talk about coming back. You have a few that come back and invest in the community, but for the most part, it's not enough. You've got poverty in these Black neighborhoods where a lot of these athletes, with the connections and relationships and financial backing that they can muster, should be helping out in the community, helping develop jobs, bridging what I call bridging that gap between local Black entrepreneurs and the financial industry that they have great connections with. And that's what inspired me to start the Urban Night Group, was working with entrepreneurs, talking to them about opportunities that are out there. I call myself a trailblazer from the standpoint there hasn't been an business opportunity out there that I have not tried to be a part of or find out about, buy a franchise, give it a shot. But one thing I've learned over the years is that you cannot start a business, be in the business without capital. I don't believe in one getting rich quick and getting rich without money. It takes cash.
Yep. And let's dive a little deeper. So, exactly what is the Urban Night Group and what problem are you trying to solve that no one else seems to be addressing?
I think right now you have some people trying to address it. And what I do is try to educate from my graduate school background. What I found out was that African American entrepreneurs are what the literature calls necessity entrepreneurs, meaning that they start a business because they have to. They've either lost their job or they're trying to make a little money. Basically, it's a hustle. The average successful business has at least 5 employees. 90% of African American businesses are solopreneurs. And the only way you can be successful when operating a business is by creating jobs. So what I talk to budding entrepreneurs about are creating jobs and trying to connect them with organizations that can show them how to start a business and how to put time into that business and what you need to make that business successful, from financial grants to understand the hiring process, how to go about saving your money, investing your money, and budgeting your money. So those are some of the things that I try to work with entrepreneurs and leading them into the right direction. Myself personally, I'm in real estate. That's an avenue that I understand. I spent about 12 years in the real estate industry. So I spend my time and energy operating in real estate, owning and managing my own property. I have properties here in Chicago and in Indiana. So what I try to do is share the knowledge that I have with budding entrepreneurs.
I want you to dive a little deeper into necessity entrepreneurship. Like, exactly what does that mean? And why do you believe it's one of the greatest untapped areas in our underserved communities?
African Americans start more businesses every year than any other minority group, but they fail at a higher rate. And that's because there was not a plan. There was not an understanding of, is there a market for my business, or am I creating a business and hoping to find a market for it? Those are the ones that fail. You have to understand, is there a market and how to go about tapping into that market. That's why franchises work better than solopreneurs, because they know there's a market. As one Asian told me that, I buy franchises because I don't have to work on the business. The franchise organization does that. I work in the business. And I asked him, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I don't have to worry about does my menu need to be tweaked? What new product can I bring in? He said, the organization does that for me. So I work on the business, making sure my employees are trained right, making sure we're not wasting any food or beverage or or anything related to the business and keeping expenses down and overhead low. As a necessity entrepreneur, none of that ever comes into play. It's, I need to make money. So I've got this idea. Let me go out and try to find a market for it. It doesn't work that way. For a business to be successful, they need to fill a gap. There needs to be a demand for it. Like, for instance, right now, laundromats are big. Well, you know what? You don't have to figure out, is there a market for a laundromat? Everybody has to wash their clothes. So those are the type of things that affect necessity entrepreneurs. But the biggest part is have a market for your business. You're not going to create a market that's not there.
And many people say they don't have enough money, enough connections, or enough resources to even start a business. How does Urban Night Group help people overcome those barriers?
Well, there are organizations out there. You just need to know where to go find them and connect with them. But the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure your ducks are in a row. You need to make sure that your background is solid. Do you have a good credit score? Do you have the ability to show that you've worked a job for several years? Are you willing to learn? That was one of the things that I found out when I worked for Converse and Jostens. It was hard for minorities to do internships if they weren't paid because they needed money. When I did my internship at Converse, I was able to get a stipend so that I could hire minorities to work in the business to train and show them about sports marketing. But the majority of my interns that were willing to work for free were white students. So, it's you gotta dig into, like, for a city like Chicago, there are several organizations out there that help minority entrepreneurs to talk about budgeting, accounting, talk about marketing, what's a good market, what's not a good market. They help you go over your ideas, help you create a business plan. I try to connect those type of organizations with entrepreneurs.
And what's the biggest mistake you see first generation entrepreneurs make when they're trying to build wealth?
They want to live like they're millionaires from the beginning. You got to start out small. By small, I mean work on your business, grow your business. Don't be concerned what car you're driving, how big your house is, how many suits you got, how many diamond rings you have on. You got to have that millionaire next door mentality. One of the demographics, I like to study minority demographics because it's interesting to see how minorities go about entrepreneurship differently. Like Asian Indians, they're known for having 3 or 4 families living in one house, but they operate 4 or 5 businesses. You have Hispanics that have 3 or 4 people living in a home, but they'll operate 2 or 3 businesses. And they'll drive trucks that, are raggedy, but they are focused on the business. They're focused on growing the business. We get caught up with the outward look of everything. Do I have the latest car? Am I dressed in the latest fashion? Focus on the business. Put money aside. Start out with less to get more in the future.
And you've worked with champions in sports, and now you're working with entrepreneurs. What qualities do both groups have in common from your perspective?
2 things. 1, they have a plan, and 2, they're willing to work that plan. It's important. I've always said, you learn things the older you get. When I played college basketball, I thought playing every day and working out occasionally was going to be my ticket to the NBA. And when I played a long time ago. When I played, we were still playing in canvas shoes. Basketball was still fun. When I was growing up, the NBA was just a decent job. It wasn't wealth and family wealth that allowed you to change the trajectory of your entire family. at that time. But when I got into the athletic business, then you start watching guys like a Magic Johnson. I remember watching him work out one day by himself, full court, going up and down the court like he was in a game, throwing passes off the wall, having to come back to him. He did that for an hour straight. And then getting a chance to work with him as a Converse endorsee when he would come in to Chicago to play the Bulls. The Lakers would do their East Coast trip, and Chicago was usually the last stop before they headed back out west. We would always use him to call on sporting goods stores to help sell our shoe. Well, Magic wanted to know what the product was. When was it going to be shipped in? What were the color paths? How long was the shoe going to be in the market? He wanted to know everything about it from A to Z, the marketing program, the selling program. That's why I'm not surprised he is successful as he is in business. He wanted to know it all. So not only was he willing to put in the work, he was willing to learn. So that's the two things I think that entrepreneurs, especially minority entrepreneurs, can really get a hold of and put into action.
Wow, that's great information. All right, fellas, the stage is open.
As a prospective business owner, should I be focusing on job creation from my initial business plan and strategy, or are there other things I should be focused on first?
Well, the first thing I want to ask you, do you have a market?
You talked about
You
that
have a
earlier.
market you're selling to?
Yeah. Like I've identified
Okay.
demand,
Do
started
you
drawing
have
up a
you have a
business plan.
business plan?
Yeah,
You got your
that's what I'm saying.
business plan?
Started drawing up a business plan. Haven't
Okay.
quite completed it yet, but have started drawing
Okay.
up a business plan. And I'm wondering if, as part of the business plan, or as just part of my strategic thinking, should I be thinking about job creation?
If you're growing your business, job creation will come automatically. Okay. If you've got a business plan, if
hmm
you just got to hustle, you won't create a job. But if you've got a business plan, within that plan, you've planned for growth. That growth can be accomplished through employing people. But a couple of things you want to remember about that. You want to hire slow and fire fast. Take your time in hiring people. Don't get carried away with bringing people on board until you get a chance to know them and know that their ideas and goals align with yours in your business. If you've got a great business plan or a good business plan and you're working that plan, your growth will come and you'll know when it's time to hire someone.
Okay.
And remember, when you're hiring someone, you're hiring them to do a job because you are replicating yourself. You want them to do the job so you can go grow another part of it. That's why you have to hire slow and fire fast.
When putting a team together, you talked about Magic, you talked about Michael Jordan, and how they have great work ethic. I like the thing you said also about Magic, where he also had a curiosity about like the business
Mm-hmm.
business stages, the business development, how the product goes from, first initial development all the way to getting delivered to the customer. Aside from those characteristics, are there any other qualities I should look for when putting a team together?
Ambition and people you can count on, people that are going to come to work. I mean, if you're trying to build a business, you can't build a business if people aren't coming to work.
That's true.
you know, I mean, it's just like right now with my business. When I hire a contractor and he tells me he's going to be there at 10 o'clock and he doesn't show up, then, I've got a tenant upset. You want to hire people that are going to come, that are going to be to work. And if they can't get to work, then you don't need them.
Gotcha.
That's why you hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you got that right person.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it down.
It's Tuesday. Johnny got paid Monday. He's not going to be here on Tuesday. No, you want Johnny to show up on Tuesday.
I just want to push back a little bit on you on
Uh-huh.
something you said earlier. I hope you
Okay.
don't mind.
No.
So you talked about how maybe Black folks don't take as many internships as they probably should, when learning how to build
But
a business. And I recognize, like, taking an internship, for instance, like when I was coming up, in college and different things, there were all kinds of internships offered, and I used to consider taking the internships. But at the same time, like, I had bills to pay, so I couldn't
right, right,
necessarily, say,
right,
take I couldn't take a free position because I needed to get paid. So,
right.
like, is there anything you could say to, like, young Black folks who are balancing those kind of decisions, where it's like, hey man, I really would like to take this internship and it probably would do me some good, but man, I got to pay
Hmm.
these bills.
Well, first of all, that wasn't a knock on
Mm,
students who couldn't take the internship. I said I wish they could, because I
gotcha.
understand they needed the money. That's
Yeah,
why I was able to get Converse to give me a little stipend so I could
gotcha.
pay them something.
Yeah,
But
okay,
no,
cool.
you got to take the money. I'm 100% behind that. Um, my son had internships and they paid him.
Mm,
I don't believe in working for free.
mm,
But that's why I said it's a shame that African American students can't take those kind of jobs
yeah, yeah,
and white kids can,
yeah,
because they're being supported by family and family members. So, but no, you got to take the money, because, like you
yeah,
said, you got bills to pay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate you clarifying that too. Yeah, those are all the questions I had.
I appreciate your questions and good luck with your business.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right. So LaVisse Smith, man, you enjoying yourself on Black Men Sundays?
Oh, and enjoy talking about successful and creating success for Black men.
For sure, man. And I have a few more questions before I let you get out of here. So,
Okay.
if someone's watching today wanting to build a business that lasts for generations, instead of just generating income, where should they
Hmm.
start?
You can't go wrong with real estate. I'm a big believer in real estate. Like the stock market goes up and down, real estate goes up and down, but stocks can go away. That building sitting on the corner is not going anywhere. And I'm quite sure you've heard this before. Over 90% of your millionaires and billionaires in this country all have major portfolios of real estate. You're not going to make any more of it. That's why other uh, African Americans that preach um, success start with real estate. Like John Hope Bryan, he's a big believer in it. That's why he talks about buying a home, owning your home. It starts there. You own a home, you own a duplex, you own a multifamily. I'm a member of an organization of about 20 African Americans here in the Chicagoland area that own multifamily properties. You can't go wrong with real estate. And real estate will give you a great business foundation because it's a business. It's not just real estate, it's a business. You got expenses, you got overhead, you've got employees, whether they be contractors or property managers. You've got growth. You grow your business, you buy more property, and it's something you can pass down through generations. So
Great
that would be my number one thing to start with.
Got you. And what does success look like for Urban Night Group over the next 5 to 10 years?
Continually talking about entrepreneur development, and from a nonprofit side, and then also growing the profit side of the Urbanite Group, acquiring more property and hopefully a laundromat or two, and some other businesses. So in the next 5 years, that's what we're hoping to grow the business.
And when it's all said and done, what legacy do you hope Urban Night Group leaves in Black communities?
The same legacy I hope to leave with my family is that there are opportunities out there. You have to, one, educate yourself to go get them, and two, you have to work at them to make them work. Nobody's going to give it to you. That's the same philosophy that I preach to my kids. It's the same philosophy I preach to players that I worked with when I coached. It's the same philosophy that any parent will preach to their kids. And that's how I look at the African American community. When I was growing up, it was a neighborhood. Now, because we've got a lot more privileges and can live anywhere, we're kind of spread out, but it's the same thing. Same attitude, same advice. Plan your
Yeah.
work and work your plan and go after it.
Definitely, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on Blackman Sunday, spending some time with us today. LaVisse Smith, was there anything that I didn't ask you that, you wanted to mention? Also, but before you answer that, for people that listen to this that want to contact you, how can they do that?
You can contact me through email, lavissmith@gmail.com. And I will respond to you and give you any information and advice that I can. LaVisseSmith@gmail.com. That's LAV as in Victor, ISSE Smith@gmail.com.
Gotcha. Well, there we have it, man. Again, like I said, thank you for coming on Blackman Sundays, taking the questions. I appreciate you. And, I'll definitely be in touch, my brother, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday and enjoy your week.
Corey, thank you very much. God bless you, brother. And I appreciate what you do here.
It's a black man's son.